So we did this Israel trip by ourselves with just some hotel rooms and a rental car, and that was really neat. So I wanted to put a video on here with some basic logistics for anybody that thinks they may want to try that sometime. It is doable. It was a little bit uncomfortable at times, but I think if you feel comfortable driving into New York City with a rental car and trying to find something, basically, if you could do that, you could probably drive through Israel. They drive on the right hand side of the road. People drive fairly aggressively, but not like bad. So they basically drive like me. They just kind of drive like maniacs, which was actually fun to drive there. So anyhow, I'm going to go through how we did the trip, and then some basic logistics, and also another way that I'd probably do the trip the next time as far as like where we stayed and stuff. So I'll get straight to that. All right. So we flew into Tel Aviv, left on a Friday after work. Flew straight to Tel Aviv from New Jersey, Newark. And then we got our car. It took a while to do that, actually. Hopefully be quicker for other folks. Got our car, drove to Tel Aviv, stayed in the city at a hotel called Vital, V-I-T-A-L. Good food. Parking was a little weird, so I might stay at the Sheraton, which is right on the coast, right down from Old Jaffa. Anyhow, but again, since we got the car late, we really couldn't do anything in the evening. So the next morning we drive down to Ashkelon, mainly because it's raining up north, and you know, this whole thing was like a giant scavenger hunt, and we wanted to just kind of see everything we could. And so we're like, you know, it's raining up north, let's go south. So we go down south to Ashkelon, this really cool Philistine city, and I would encourage you guys to do that. We spent about an hour there, hour and a half. You could probably spend 2 or 3 hours there. Anyhow, then we head back up north again. These big roads are really good roads, easy to drive on, and we went to Caesarea. So by the way, this map, an inch, is 20 miles. So, you know, it's about 30 miles south to Ashkelon, and then, you know, Caesarea is about 30 miles north of Tel Aviv. So all this stuff isn't that far away. So we go to Caesarea. We spent about an hour there. You could spend 2 or 3 hours there. It was really cool. This old city on the coast. Anyway, so then we go up to Haifa and stay on Mount Carmel, basically. There we stayed at a resort called the Carmel Forest Spa Resort. It was nice. Shannon got a massage. Anyways, this is where Elijah killed the prophets of Baal. There's no one like definite spot that happened, and so this is kind of neat and beautiful. But you could just drive by it and be like, oh, there's Mount Carmel. Anyhow, we get there at like 5 or 6, I think about 5, and the museums here in Haifa, they have a couple of good museums, but it closed early, so we didn't get to go see that. That's fine. So the next morning, so that was our second night there. Next morning we drive, I think the north side of this mountain, basically all the way down here to Megiddo. Megiddo's really cool. This is a Jezreel Valley, by the way. A lot of stuff happens there in the Bible. Anyway, so we stop at Megiddo. Megiddo's neat. We spent about an hour and a half there, maybe. Got rained on like crazy. But Megiddo, you can probably spend 2 hours there also, another couple hours there. So we leave that, we go this way, and then we go down here to Jezreel, which is where Jezebel was thrown out the tower window. Also cool. It's a little 10-minute hike and easy, and there's not much to see there, but it's just a cool place to be. So we drove up and around, or maybe we just cut across like some back roads, but we basically had to go to the Harod River or the Spring of Gideon, which is right by Mount Gilboa. And this is where Gideon did his thing, and Saul had his final days and kind of got killed in battle here. And his body was hung on the walls of Beth Shean. But basically, so after seeing that, we drove up north to Nazareth. Nazareth is right up on this mountain, big city, and really hard to find the Basilica of the Annunciation. It was, we found it, and we parked right in front of it. It was cool, but that was hard to find. So then we go that night back south and drove up to Tiberias. By the way, there's Mount Tabor, that little nub right there. Some stuff happened there. So go to Tiberias. We stayed nights 3 and 4 in Tiberias at a place called the Leonardo Plaza Hotel. It was pretty nice, right there on the water of the Sea of Galilee. The next morning we go up, hike up Mount Arbel again, about a 10-minute hike. Beautiful, probably worth going just to see the view, because you can see the whole Sea of Galilee basically. And then we drove up and saw Tagba and Capernaum, which are right up here. You have to go there, Capernaum especially. Tagba is basically just like a church. So drive up here. I think we stopped at like the Mount of Beatitudes or something, which is maybe Mount Arbel's Mount of Beatitudes. We don't really know. But we drove north. We go to Hazor. Hazor is a cool place. It's kind of like Megiddo. It's this ancient city that's like, it's really neat. We spent about an hour there. You could spend probably 2 hours there, maybe an hour and a half. And we keep driving north. We go up to Tel Dan. Tel Dan's closed. All these places close at like 4. So guys, you got to try to get there. Plan some of these big sites. Basically, you got to think about that. So it's closed. They're like, shoot. Then we go to Benias, which is right up here on the Golan Heights, beautiful area. So Benias is also neat. It was closed also. So, but we snuck in, and then we got caught. So the video is like really short. I'll post all the videos of these places. And then we hightail it out of there. We head south and stay there at Tiberias again. Neat little city. And then we go this way. And so we go south to Bet Shean. Bet Shean's where Saul's body was hung. Neat Decapolis city plus the ancient hill. Going back probably 4,000 or 5,000 years. Really neat place. I recommend a good 2 or 3 hours there too. We probably did about an hour. Anyway, so then we go south. We're going all the way down to the Dead Sea for our 5th night, I think. 5th night down here somewhere. But on the way, we wanted to stop at a couple places. So we wanted to see Nablus, which is where Jacob's well is. And so we were like, yeah, we'll just drive through here. But this is all like West Bank territory. The big roads are fine, no big deal. But once you get off the beaten path, it's a little sketchy. We go up through here, and we get right up in here somewhere before we get to the city. And there's this big old gate. And this big gate, and these soldiers, there's like 7 or 8 Israelis with machine guns. Only one car at a time gets to go up there, and there's this big red sign, and the red sign's like, no Israelis are allowed to come in here, against the law. And then it says, dangerous to your lives. And we're like, I don't know. This is a little sketchy, but we're going to do it. And we get up to it's our turn, so we drive up to the soldiers, and this female soldier comes down, and she's like, what are y'all doing here? And we're like, we're trying to find Jacob's well. And she goes, how do you know this Jacob? And so anyways, then I had to try to explain Jacob, she should know this. It's her heritage. But anyway, so she's like, get out of the car. So to get out of the car, nobody else is having to get out of the car. I had to get out of the car and she's like, open your trunk. And I'm like, trying to figure out how to open a trunk on a Skoda Superb, whatever that is. Great car, but either way. And she's like, open your bags and go through our stuff. And then at the end, she's like, walks me back to the front. And she's like, gives me my passports. And all she does, she looks at me and she goes, be careful. And that's it. And I'm like, oh boy, so this is going to be fun. So then we drive through these areas, and it was pretty sketchy. We made it, but I wasn't very comfortable. I'd probably recommend going a different route. Excuse me. Anyhow, so that was Nablus, Jacob's well. You got to go to Jacob's well, but it was basically, we spent probably maybe 20 minutes there. You probably, that's about just one little thing to see, but Jesus was there. So anyhow, then we head south. I think we go through kind of this ridge route, and then we get kind of out this way and head down to Jericho through these roads. And we just kind of did all this, like, just following the maps on our phone. So go to Jericho. Jericho's cool. Not a lot to see there, really. There's kind of the ancient city, but there's also some cool shops and stuff, and you can ride on a camel. It's fun. So you can probably spend 2 hours there. So we get back out here on the big road and head all the way south. We skipped Qumran, which is where the Dead Sea Scrolls were found. You could go to that if you're interested in that history. We go south. Could have gone to Unguided. That would have been neat also. But I think it's like a park now. That's where David snuck up on Saul Saul in the cave. But anyways, and then we were gonna stop at Masada, but again, it's closed at like 5 or 4 or something, and this is like 5 o'clock. So whatever. We go down here to stay at our hotel. It's called the Daniel Dead Sea. It was nice. There's plenty of resort little hotels here. By the way, the Dead Sea, you gotta jump in it. It was cool. You just bob around like a cork. It was crazy. So the next morning we're like, let's go up to Masada, see it. So we go up here and we go see it. We run through it again in probably an hour. We spend there, but amazing. Like you could spend a couple hours there. Amazing. And so anyway, so then we head south because the gas station down here, we're out of gas and we didn't want to go all the way up to Jerusalem. There's like no gas stations all the way up here. So we got in here, get gas, drive through a ride, no big deal. And then we head north through the ancient city, past that. That was cool looking. We didn't stop though because we had a lot of stuff planned. But go up this way, drop past Hebron. Again, the Cave of the Patriarchs, or Machpelah, is there. We skipped that. That's another one of these like big red sign kind of Zone A Palestinian territory areas where you have to like like go in through a gate. And we just figured we'd skip that. Plus, you can't really go in a cave and see like the cave itself. You just kind of go into a church there or something. Anyways, whatever. Went north up to Bethlehem. Bethlehem's a pretty big city, also safe feeling because it's full of tourists, not terrorist, tourists. And we so we go in and we basically get behind a tour bus and follow it all the way to the church, and that's how we found that. So, by the way, the Cave of the Patriarchs, that's where Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were buried. And some of the wives. Up here, I think Rachel is actually buried in Bethlehem, but I don't know if they know where her tomb is really, but either way, that's that's there. And Leah, I think, was buried in Hebron. So anyway, so Bethlehem, neat. One note, by the way, we got a private guide outside the church. Probably the best $15 I ever spent in my life. Like, we go up in this church, it's like this ancient church. And this guy, like, he's like, it's like $15 and for each of us. And we walked past probably 1,000 people, like literally, if in big tour groups. So if you're like by yourself, I think you could just name these guys kind of standing outside the church. They have these like name badges on, and they like lift up the gates where they're just like walking past all these people. I mean, these people are probably looking at us like we're some kind of, I don't know, dignitaries, like ambassadors or something. Like we work. Anyways, we just walk in and like get to walk all the way down to where the Jesus was born. It was pretty neat. I would recommend doing that. So, anyhow, we have a little time left, and again, we're kind of like, all this is on our own. It's this big scavenger hunt. We're like, dude, we got some time left before it gets dark. Let's go see the Valley of Elah, and that's over here in Beth Shemesh. I think this is it right over here. So we like drive from Bethlehem, kind of got lost and found our way, and that was kind of sketchy. But anyway, we kind of get through here, we find it, and then they have a video there too. This is where David killed Goliath, right down here. Neat. And then we it's starting to get toward evening, so we're like, all right, let's head to Jerusalem. So we head up here for our last 3 nights. We stay at another Leonardo, this big, like, probably 20-story hotel. Probably 15-20 minute walk to the ancient city. So we stay there. Nice hotel. So anyway, so then we spent our first full day in Jerusalem. We have a tour guide with a group, and we go through, starting on Mount of Olives through the Via Dolorosa. That was pretty cool. I recommended that, I guess, because of the fact that you get your bearings, basically, of the city, because it's kind of this ancient city. It's kind of neat. But anyhow, then the last full day we had there, we basically did our own thing. So we did everything and kind of saw stuff that we didn't see before, like the Pool of Bethesda and the City of David. Although, by the way, it was Saturday and the City of David was kind of closed. Most of us closed, but we got to see a lot of it. Anyhow, so basically, let me switch gears and a couple things I would say. Our main stuff, like as far as like what I read ahead of time, this book by John Beck. I would recommend that. It was excellent. I probably read it twice. Also spent a lot of time reading the Bible. So a lot of the New Testament I would read, but then the Old Testament. If you have a few months, I would recommend just reading through the Old Testament. I'm reading it now, and it's really meaning a lot more to me. So anyway, so that's the book I would recommend. It cost us about $3,500 each. We could probably spend less on the flight, because I spent an extra $300 or $400 on some more leg room because I'm almost 6'4", and although the seats are plenty of spacious enough, you can probably get away without spending that. You probably could get a crappier rental car. Our rental car was great. Although it was beautiful at first, and then we just destroyed it by the end of the trip. But anyways, in our rooms, we stayed in some ridiculously nice places. Like you don't have to spend, like our last hotel had 2 balconies, 2 separate bathrooms. You don't need all that. We didn't exchange money. I would recommend exchanging $200 or $300 at least in shekels. Basically, what I would do is like have somebody go find the start getting in line for the rental car, and then have the other person go exchange money at the airport. Just to make life easier on the trip. Cell phone, I have Verizon, and Verizon has this international plan. It's like $10 a day, basically. And you can use your phone as like your map as you're driving, and it totally worked all over the country. By the way, as far as getting your car at the airport, when you walk into the main lobby after you get out of your airplane and you head in, there's this big area. The rental car is on the 2nd floor up to your left. It took us like 20 minutes to find it, but it's really like right there. And if you don't know where it is, you'd be just like us. So, also returning, like Hertz, we got a Hertz car. It does not return to where the big sign says to return rental cars. It's somewhere like gate C or gate 3 or something. Just pay attention when they tell you that, because we lost about 30 minutes, and it made like catching the flight home a little bit nerve-wracking because we didn't have a whole lot of time. Anyways, by the way, all these sites, all these different national parks, basically, you can get a ticket that covers multiple ones, and it saves some money. And if you see gifts, get it, because there's different gifts at different places, and you might not see it again. For instance, this map, actually, saw it the first place we go, and I'm like, I just get one later. And then like the next place I go has one, but they only take shekels. And then I'm like, well, I'll just get one in Jerusalem. Then I never saw another one, so I freaking ordered this one. It had to ship from Israel, so that's ridiculous. But anyways, so the last thing I would say is, if I were going to do it again, like in maybe 10 years, our kids are a little older, this is what I do. I'd fly into Tel Aviv, kind of get the rental car together, get to the hotel maybe, or even just skip that first. That first day, I drive south to Ashkelon, go see that. It's cool, worth seeing. And then I drive up and stay at my hotel up here in Tel Aviv. And then I drive north the next morning, stop at Caesarea, spend 2 or 3 hours there. Drive by Mount Carmel and go to Megiddo, right? Spend a couple hours there. And then I go and maybe head to Nazareth and see that. You'd probably spend like 30 minutes there. It's really not. It's just one place. And then drive around. There's a bunch of cool little things around here. Look it up in the book. And then head to Tiberias for that night. Maybe go to Mount Arbel that evening. It'd be really pretty in the evening, I bet. Stay the night there. Do basically the second day, maybe go up north, Capernaum, Tagba, Hazor, Dan, Benias, and then head back to your hotel. And then basically spend 3 nights here instead of 2 nights. So the second full day, do this loop. Go down south to Bet Shean, then do Jezreel and the spring of Gideon, and then back around, kind of something like that. After your third night in Tiberias, head south. I might, instead of going this way through like Zone A, like Palestinian territories, whatever, I might go kind of along the western shore this way. It's still go to Shechem, but or Nablus, but kind of come in from the west. And so you can drop all the way up here on this big road here, and these roads are pretty safe feeling. And then it's like 5 miles, or probably a 10-minute drive. So just drive up that way. It's probably a lot more comfortable than going through all this craziness. Then head south on the ridge route to Jerusalem, or back west, south, and then east to Jerusalem, whatever. So stay 4 nights in Jerusalem. So 1 night, 3 nights, 4 nights. So again, 8 nights. So stay 4 nights here. Do maybe a guided tour one day. Then do another a loop, like go see Bethlehem, and then drive out to Jericho, then south to the Dead Sea, and maybe around. Excuse me, and then see the Valley of Elah, or something, just to kind of do a loop, and then spend like I said, maybe a guided tour or something, or basically see all this stuff. So that's kind of the way I do it. I do maybe do 1 night, 3 nights, 4 nights. But the way we did it was awesome as well. And I feel like we saw almost as much as I would want to see. Other stuff to see would be like the Israel Museum. Although once you see like an old pot, you've probably seen a million of them. Or an old coin or something. But that's kind of how I do it. I think it is doable. I'd recommend doing it the way we did it. If you kind of feel comfortable driving in big cities and stuff like that, don't scare you. If you're not good at directions, or if you like are a little squirrely or squeamish, I wouldn't recommend doing it on your own. Just do a big tour group. But the tours, you're kind of locked into a certain plan or schedule, and also you're also locked into certain dates that they'll do it on. So I really enjoyed the way we did it. We did 8 nights, 10 days total, and I think it's kind of doable for most folks who aren't scared to drive on your own in a foreign country. So that's that. Go for it. See ya.